Welcome to the Your Leadership Legacy podcast. My name is Tina Paulus Kraus, and I'm so excited to bring you this next podcast dedicated to you high performers out there who want to reinvent yourself, reinvent your business, maybe your career, all of it. This podcast is all about being dedicated to transformation and being the best possible leader of yourself and others that you can be in order to create a legacy that lives on. Welcome to Your Leadership Legacy. My name is Tina Paulus Kraus. I am the founder and CEO of True You Teams. And here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Your Leadership Legacy. My name is Tina Paulus Kraus, and we have, for a double repeat, back for a second time, Tim McMurtry with us. Hi, Tim.
Hi there, Tina. How's it going?
It's going good. Welcome. It's really good to see you again.
Thank you so much. Likewise, I am delighted to be here.
Yes, it's always fun to have Timspiration in the house.
Woohoo!
Yes. So how are you? 2020?
I am blessed and increasing despite the weirdness that 2020 has brought to us. I mean, needless to say, it has been a very unusual year. And I think everybody across the globe has really felt, I don't want to use this word, but the pain of what has happened. But I think the silver lining in all of this is that it has forced us all to kind of recalibrate our lives and make the adjustments. I've been very, very impressed by the resilience of not only people in the business community, but the general population at large, to have something switch on you overnight and have to do something new the very next day. Of course, there's been a couple of casualties. My condolences to the families that may have lost loved ones due to the pandemic, and those that are still kind of battling through their income producing, jobs or means or things like that. But I do believe for the most part, it could have been worse than what it is, and folks are making the adjustment. So kudos to those that have kind of kept on trucking and looking forward to brighter days tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, it's been, I love your word, weird. It's been like the cool thing is that we're all kind of on this like level playing ground, right? This is not something any of us have gone through. And whether you're thinking about it from just an individual perspective, or maybe with your partner, or with your family, or with your job, or with your team, or work, like whatever aspect of life that it is, we're all reinventing, aren't we?
Certainly. I mean, I think that's kind of a good thing. Sometimes you get into the regular routine and you kind of put your life on autopilot. What this has kind of forced everyone to do is kind of, shake themselves out of the doldrums, so to speak, and really come out bigger and better. And I think for a lot of us, it was a really good time to kind of slow down a bit, exhale, and do some things as far as introspection is concerned, and really dig deeper into the creativity that we all have that needs to be put forth. I mean, there was a guy that said one time that he had asked a question asking, where does the most talent lie throughout the world, and people would give different answers and things like that. And he was like, those are all great answers, but really the most talent lies in the grave, because most people have taken their talent to the grave. They didn't have either the guts or the encouragement or the identified resources to move forward with it. And what this has done has forced everybody to leave no stone unturned. Look from the top, from the bottom, side to side, diagonal, cross-sectional, for any advantage that they could have. Some by force, because they might have lost something that they relied upon, be it their employment, that has forced them to make another move, or others just from the standpoint of, I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to stretch and really engage my personal elasticity, or my ability to stretch more, to go for more that I previously had not really identified, but have been forced to at least consider given these circumstances.
Yeah, I love personal elasticity. I love that. Talk to us more about what that means.
What that really means is that most people from, a young age, I think it was John Maxwell that talked about the leadership lid, that says that people that are following leaders can go no higher than the lid of the leader. And many of us have been shaped by what we heard as youngsters. You know, you can be this or you can't never be that. And we carry that up into our adulthood. Now, kids, you know, you used to have this little game we used to play. You get a sheet of paper, you make a square, and you put a number in the middle of it, like 23 or whatever. And
Right.
on one side, you say, who am I? You know, when am I going to get married? Or, you know, how much money am I going to have? And where am I going to live? And you would count that number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 23. And whatever you landed on, you have to scratch off. And whatever was left in every category, that was your imaginary life that you were looking forward to.
Yeah.
Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, that gets kind of choked off. And we get stuck into these, you know, false boundaries that are put on us. And so we live our lives, and I can only go so far. I can't go too close to the edge. I have to do this. But personal elasticity is an ability to stretch without fear that you will have any sort of detrimental impact by that stretching. And once you stretch a bit and see that, okay, the sky didn't fall, let me see if I can stretch a little bit more. So the key becomes doing the stretch in an incremental way as opposed to trying to take too much of a giant leap, because then you might injure yourself or might make a misstep that will give you the illusion that, see, you should have never tried to stretch in the first place. Kind of like a guy going to the gym or a young lady going to the gym, and you know, you want to do the bench press and you want to, I can do, you know, a lot. Okay, you might want to start with just 145 on each side, 145 plate. So 135 total. The bar is 45 pounds and 45 pounds each of those big, large plates.
Yeah.
Start with that. And once you can do, let's say, 10 reps, that means that you have enough mastery or control over this particular weight enough to move up. Now, when you move up, you might in weight, you might not want to put a full 45 on there because now you're going from 135 to 225. Maybe put a 25 on there, just 50 more pounds. And so you can incrementally grow. And as you are able to lift that off of your chest, you are growing. You are becoming elastic in your muscle development. Now, I know you want to bench press 300, but pump your brakes, player. You might not be there yet. So do it incrementally because you still can make forward progress, even making baby steps, because baby steps count. So to answer your question, elasticity is the ability to stretch beyond your previously identified boundaries in a way that helps you to be able to take on more of the life that you want to do, be, and have.
Yeah, it's where the growth comes from, right? Because when you
Exactly.
expand that, like it's
Mhm.
now expanded. You don't go back. Like you don't, do something that takes you out of your comfort zone and accomplish it. And then like that's why we grow. That's how we grow, is a little bit here and a little bit there and just a little bit more. And so I love that analogy of the elasticity because it's so true. And it's how, when you talk about personal development and growth, like that's just such a great analogy for it. So
Mhm.
I forgot to read your bio.
Okay.
This is what you get for being the last one in the day.
Well, thank you very much for that faux pas, but go right
Right.
ahead, my friend.
So I'm going to read it, but what I want you, before I even read it, like tell us about Tim. I want to
Okay.
know, like, give us your background and give us kind of what you're doing in the world right now.
Oh man. Well, I wear a lot of hats, and I'll just, you know, give you guys a free form from the flow of my brain without any particular compartmentalization. First and foremost, I think I am a excellent humanitarian. I care about people. A lot of people say, well, everybody says I'm a people person, blah, blah, blah. But from the standpoint of every element of humanity has value. The Bible talks about us being made in the image and likeness of God. So there is a bit of divinity in each and every one of us. And that transcends race, transcends gender, transcends any other orientation a person wants to identify themselves as. You are human first. So I pride myself in being one that when I come into contact with people, there is something about me that that person says, I don't know that guy, but I really felt valuable in his presence. And I try to exude that because I want to do unto others as I would have them do unto me. That's number one. Number two, I try to be involved in things that are aligned with my purpose. I believe my purpose in life is to inspire people and help them identify how to be the best them that they can be. Going back to what I said earlier, most people take their talents, gifts, and their, supposed deposit into the world to the grave with him because nobody gave him an attaboy or attagirl. I want to be that person to identify those things in people, help them identify it in themselves, and help them to move forward. I'm a married man. My wife and I just celebrated 22 years
Awesome.
last
Congratulations.
month. Thank you so much. Two wonderful children, a 20-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter. I wear a couple of different hats. I own my own business, a consulting business, Tim McMurtry International, specializing in personal development, government affairs, and corporate and community relations. Background is in government. I was a former chief of staff to a city council president. So this whole election season, I'm licking my chops. This is great for me. All the debates and the polls and all that kind of stuff. I'm living the life of Riley right now, sucking it all in. Um,
I gotta say, you're the only one I've heard say that.
Oh man,
Oh,
this is great. Little editorial commentary. When I was younger, going into elementary school, I would look for extra credit assignments and civics and history. I would, do reports on presidents and stuff like that. And so having had an opportunity to work in government to see how the sausage is made from the inside out, it gives you a different perspective because there's a lot of things going on, having to craft legislation, having to get it over to the executive branch, having to secure the votes to push it in whatever branch of government you're in. All that kind of stuff takes a lot of skill, a lot of maneuvering. Every once in a while, a little bit of chicanery that people have. We don't mention anything about that. But for the most part, folks are on the up and up because they want to be public servants first. So that whole thing is cool. So that experience coupled with, workforce development, I'm in now as a manager for community relations and outreach, the public sector, private sector, and also serve as an associate pastor of a local church. And I am the state director for Wisconsin for an organization called Christians United for Israel, which is the largest pro-Israel faith-based organization in the nation, numbering about 10 million members, So those things, and I sit on a number of, community boards of directors as well. So this is kind of cool. Going back to my earlier statement about COVID helping us to kind of slow down a bit, it gave me an opportunity to say, let me catch my breath.
right. Like I'm kind of tired just listening to you.
Right.
When do you sleep? That's what I want to know.
Right. Okay. I do get my sleep in, but I can go and just, a couple hours of sleep, maybe 4, 5 max. I don't need to necessarily full 8, but a good 4 or 5, I'm good to go.
Awesome. So I want to talk about the election with you since you're so jazzed up about it and it's your thing. Talk to it so from your perspective, talk to us about what's happening right now.
I think right now we have two distinct folks. I see that on the ones besides Democrat, Republican, you have personalities there. I don't know if there could be a greater dichotomy between the two candidates. Now talk about Trump and then and Biden. Trump, ultimate outsider, not a politician, celebrity guy, businessman, and he comes into this, populist. He's a populist candidate talking about things that everyday people at the kitchen table talk about. Then you have the career politician in, Vice President Joe Biden, or candidate now, Joe Biden, and the American people are forced to make a decision. Now, a person's right to vote is their right to vote. You have the freedom to go any way you want to. I think there are a couple of things that have kind of played out though that are interesting. One, you have the mixed race and gender ticket on the Democratic side. Kamala Harris is the Indian and Jamaican and a woman of color, black lady. Then you got Pence with Donald Trump. But I think that there are a couple of nuances associated with Trump that get kind of lost in the sauce, if you will, of the incessant, oh my God, this guy is, terrible. And he could be all those things that people might think about him. But there are some other nuances that often get overlooked. And what I mean by that is from, let's say, a Christian perspective. He has a vice president who's, a Christian man. So people were saying, well, how can the evangelical people, how can they go for this guy? He's been married 3 or 4 times and all this, he's so mean, he's derogatory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, because the Bible story is about redemption. giving people second chances, taking somebody that might be a no good person and making them into something, having some redeemable qualities. When Joseph went to Egypt, Pharaoh was not a believer. He wasn't a Joel Osteen type pastor guy. He was, a secular king, but he had somebody who had relationship with God. So Egypt was able to prosper by that connection. Maybe some of the things that Trump has been able to accomplish, and one by getting elected, might have been because there was a connection that he had, not from him himself being so pure and great, but because he had enough sense to recognize that, hey, if I surround myself with folks of faith, I might be able to ride the coattails of their prayers and be able to make a difference. Another thing about him is that most politicians, or many of them, use the office and then are able to court business opportunities after they've left office. Hey, you were a president, you were a senator, you were this, you were that. Why don't you come to our law firm, come to our lobbying firm? In Washington, D.C., they have a street called K Street, where a lot of the lobbyists are there and they lobby for different pieces of legislation and special interests. Many of the folks that are employees now in those lobbying firms at one time were government officials. So now they know the lay of the land on the inside, still have relationships. So those companies leverage that. Well, Trump was a real estate mogul for 40 years prior to taking office. The salary of the president is $400,000. He doesn't even take the salary. So he's working for free. You know what I'm saying? So the whole thing about him being a businessman, he doesn't have to take the office to leverage business. He brought business to the place. I mean, he is the originator of the selfie. What I mean by that is that he had buildings with his name on it. How do you don't get any more selfie-ish than to McMurtry Tower? You know what I'm saying? And I think the final thing that is a distinction from him, then I'm gonna get to Joe Biden. The final distinction with Trump is that when I was working in City Hall, when somebody would come, or we get a call from the receptionist saying, hey, Channel 4 is out here for you, or this news reporter is out here for you, or this person wants to speak to, the elected official, the first question was, okay, did I do anything? Is this going to be a gotcha thing? Let me just check my mental Rolodex, make sure I didn't do anything scandalous before I go out there and talk to this news reporter. And so sometimes the news reporters would kind of weaponize that because they knew that, okay, people don't like to be in front of the camera. I can get them. I can stick it. So you feel, Tina, that this is the way to go, huh? And they got the camera, the microphone in your mouth or in your face, and you're kind of, deer in headlights. Yeah. Well, that's not the case with Trump. He had a TV show, lights, camera, you know what I'm saying? So he had The Apprentice, then he had Celebrity Apprentice. So lights, camera, action, hey, this is part.
Giddy up, let's go.
Exactly. And I think that's part of the conundrum that our media has been in with him for these past 4 years. Breaking news, Trump is this, Trump is that. With all the things that he's faced, from the grabbing parts of anatomy of folks to whatever you want, the Miller investigation. Okay, the scroll, exactly. With everything that he's faced, any other candidate, any other person probably would have crumbled by now, because it's incessant every day, all day, for the last 3.5 years. And before he got the presidency, when he was campaigning, it was even then. So I'm thinking that some of his ability to withstand that and still, walk in his normal way is because he's brought some unique experiences to the office that heretofore past presidents hadn't brought the same combination of. One last piece on him, and I'll get over to Biden, and we can go on with the rest of the stuff. But like I said, I'm flowing. Tina, you got me going.
No, I'm not stopping you. You go.
So I went to the Metropolitan Milwaukee Association of Commerce has a annual event that's called Milwaukee Night in DC, where they take business leaders, politicians, other stakeholders out to DC. They have a reception on Capitol Hill, a dinner, and then they have a fundraiser with one of, some popular person in politics. Well, after Reince Priebus, who's a Wisconsin native, I think from Kenosha, served as the first chief of staff for President Trump. After he was not in that role anymore, he was the guest speaker at one of these events. And one of the things he said I thought was really profound, after he gave his presentation, blah, 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 my experiences in the White House, opened it up for questions. And one of the questions was, well, hey man, how was it working with, that Trump guy? It seems like it's chaos and people are, coming and going all the time. All these different department heads are getting fired and it seems like it's chaotic. What's going on? And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, well, imagine sitting in a room at a table having a discussion, a strategy session, and you have 20 to 25 different people, all with differing opinions and angles that they're coming from, and they're all talking at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
He said that is how it was in the White House. And the thing about it is the president thrives in those settings. That's how he prefers it. I said, oh my goodness. What that means, whatever political IEDs or improvised explosive devices you're sending his way, you're adding fuel to the fire. This isn't getting him off his square. This is juicing him up. He's getting lathered up. Maybe you need to back off a little bit, and that can go ahead and throw a monkey wrench in this game, because this deluge of gotcha, gotcha, gotcha,
Right.
you're playing into his hands. So that's him. Joe Biden, on the other hand, I think, even during the debates, I thought, despite, the first one being kind of crazy and stuff like that, Joe Biden has run a pretty strong campaign. I mean, he was pretty polished, last night. There's been a lot of information that the Trump side of Trump's campaign has been saying, well, hey, he has diminished mental capacity, slow Joe, and all this kind of stuff. But politics is blood sport. You can expect to have other sides, throwing arrows at you incessantly.
Right.
And I thought that Joe Biden, handled it well. And I think the American people, a lot of people are, kind of polarized. You're either on one side or the other. There's not a whole lot of middle ground. I think his time with, President Obama, was great. And I think it kind of endeared him to certain demographics, particularly, African American, maybe in some even Hispanic, voters, but I think the thing is that he will have to continue to do is not just say, well, hey, I'm not Trump, so vote for me. You don't want that guy, you want me. I think he would have to maybe get a little bit more proactive in what he is, kind of standing for. They got into some pretty good substantive information at last night's, debate, talking about, policy and stuff like that. The question will be, is he able to really go ahead and finish it on off? When Hillary Clinton was running for president, as far as the polls are concerned, it seemed as if, the polls has her up, double digits here and double digits there and all this kind of stuff. It's a shoe in. There's no way, pop the champagne bottles, light the cigar and rah, rah, rah. And surprise, surprise, and I think what has happened is individuals that the pollsters either did not take into account, or they went to, and because the political polarization is so tough that in some circles you can't even have a disagreement. It's okay for whoever to go for whoever they're going for. That's cool. And if your friends, your loved ones, you guys have some, differing viewpoints on who you're rolling with, that's okay. It's not worth throwing your friendship in the trash can over. You guys just might disagree on that particular point. And I'm saying that to say that some of the polls that he has, I do think he might, be ahead. And it's looking like if the election was held today, that Joe Biden would be the next president of the United States. But I think that that piece about the underpolling, I think that that's real. I think that people that, let's say, might be on the Trump side aren't able to say it without being castigated by family and friends, because how could you go for that guy? That's crazy. He's a jerk. He's a blankety blank, other words that you can't say on the podcast, because we want to leave a leadership legacy,
Yeah, that would not be leadership.
Right. So I think it's been great. The other thing, the backstory to it is the presidential election usually, gets all the headlines, but back of it, we have a split Congress. We have a Republican-led Senate, and then we have a Democratic-led Congress, or House of Representatives. So this could be an election if, Mr. Biden is able to win the presidency. The Dems might be able to win the Senate, as well as, maintain their control in the House. So they will have the trifecta, which will really be a sea change from what's going on, and which will also bring into microscopic viewpoint the recent or the pending Supreme Court appointment of Miss Barrett as well. And that will really, cause some consternation in the political apparatus. But my hope, as I wrap this up, is that all of the talk and banter about, the ballot chicanery and malfeasance, and people are going to be stuffing about. I hope that doesn't materialize and manifest. I hope we have a clean voting process, and that we can find out the results not by Christmas, but hopefully on election night, or maybe the next day at the latest, as opposed to this long, drawn out alley fight that some folks are predicting in this particular race.
Yeah. So from a thank you for that. From a leadership development perspective, when we think about leadership and all of that, with everything that you just said, like what is your thought on where we go from here? So no matter who wins, right? Like, how do we, I mean, we're kind of a mess. We've been talking about this today in our systems, whether it's the like name a system and we get to reinvent it, right? And so where do we go from here?
Well, I think the first step is really to kind of take a step back and everybody agree that we need to move forward with empathy. Empathy meaning, hey, however I'm feeling, there is a certain kind of a way I agree to handle you. I deal with you in a certain kind of way. I'm going to put some self-imposed restraints on me when I'm dealing with you. Why? Because we don't want to have things get to the fever pitch that they are now. You talk about the political rancor that's going on. You also have the civic unrest following the George Floyd, murder, and the subsequent, protests and all that kind of stuff. Hey, man, stuff is raw, nerves are there, and we can be at a tipping point. So being able to recognize that, hey, we're too far on the ledge to keep fueling it in this particular way. Leadership says, look, this is how we're going to engage. We have rules of engagement, and we're going to start that. The tip of that spear is going to be empathy. I'm looking at you as human first, then whatever other title or label you got second. And if we can go ahead and start from that premise, we can then build upon that. And if things get a little bit heated in the midst of us negotiating or having quote unquote grown-up conversations, we both can say, we agreed that there was a certain kind of demeanor and disposition that we were going to engage in. I agreed to it. You agreed to it. Let's keep our bond for that. We can still disagree, but we can disagree in an agreeable manner and not take stuff over the edge, because we've seen over these past 7 months, we have, the COVID-19 piece, and the caboose of that train has been the civic unrest. And we have an election in the middle of that has strains and residue of all of that baked into it as well. It's like, hold on, man, this is a powder keg for a disaster. Before we get there, leadership makes the decision, and leadership is able to bring other folks in. So leaders lead. And it's not about being, popular, or what are they going to say about, man, kill that noise. Do what needs to be done for the best interest, for the greater good of all of us. And if all of us are kept in mind for the greater good, then that rising tide will indeed lift all boats.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Love that. We should just end. Boom, done. So I have, for the most part, thank goodness, my social media feed is pretty positive. I make sure that I keep it positive, right? Because there's no time for negative. And what if I'm somebody out there right now that's listening to this and they're just so, I mean, I have friends that are like this, right? Like people that are just so out of their mind with what's going on right now. And they're letting the emotions and they're letting the reactions and they're letting, the negative toxic stuff kind of take over. And so if I'm in that position right now and I'm listening to us have this discussion, how do I even start to get to where you were just talking about? Because I'm so emotional and it's so part of how do I really work through being able to say to you, what you kind of just talked about?
Well, I think the first step is to, be honest with yourself. If you feel yourself kind of going off the rails a bit, admit that you are kind of off the rails, so kind of chill out. The second thing I would recommend is that be extra practical with yourself. If you are amped up, decide at least maybe for one day, you know what, I'm going to fast from news media. I'm not going to do social media today. I'm just going to take a break. Or if you can't do it for the entire day, do it for half a day for the purpose of you working on pulling yourself back together again. You know what I'm saying? Give yourself an opportunity just kind of clear your head, woosah a bit or whatever your, thing to calm yourself down is. You do
What
that.
did you say?
Woosah, woosah,
I've never heard
something. And then the third thing I would do is now you have to make a quality decision that, hey, I'm not going to allow myself to get worked up that much anymore. And a quality decision is what makes it quality is, one, you mean it and you are going to be dedicated to that decision. In and of itself, to make a decision means I am turning my back on all other options other than what I decided on. So as you
back door.
Exactly. That's it. I mean, so the work has to be done from the person, you know what I'm saying, in these personal kinds of ways, because the outside, you might not be able to control that, but you have total control over, and as an act of your will, you can overcome that. It's going to take some work. It might not happen overnight, but if you stay dedicated to it, you will find yourself in very short order, a day or two, a week or two, being able to say to yourself, you know what? Just 2 days ago, I would have blew my top if the person said that to me. But now I've learned how to back up. So as you feel the temperature rising in you, you can check my temperature. I'm gonna have to go. I have to make a move. Exactly. And if the person is willing to do that within themselves, they will find a rapid growth, or growth that's faster than what they probably had previously anticipated, absent trying to implement some of these stopgap measures in their life.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. It's already 33 after. How did that happen?
Wow.
How did that happen? I asked you one of my questions.
I think I was being a bit too loquacious.
No. It's amazing. I love talking with you. Your experience and your background is just so intriguing to me. And so here's what I want to kind of, as we start to wrap up, when we talk about a leadership legacy, and then we combine it kind of with your background and what you've got going on, and just you're in a few different really key things going on in your life. What is the legacy that you wake up every day to be dedicated to leaving?
The legacy that I want to leave is that, Tim McMurtry, if anybody that has experienced Tim McMurtry, I want them to say, he changed my life. And you can't put a price tag on, he changed, my life. There's a scripture in the Bible that says that words fitly spoken are like apples of gold in pictures of silver. And oftentimes people think that, gifts, diamonds are a girl's best friend and all this kind of stuff. And money is all, cool. If you like bling, bling, go ahead and bling on out. You know what I'm saying? And we all could use some more money. Give me a big stack, But more important than those things are encouraging words, because they put wind behind the sails of a person's spirit. There are a lot of people that are walking around and they have spiritual depression. Because they haven't gotten encouragement. They've gotten a lot of, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? This, that, and the other. You can't do, nobody in the family's ever done that before. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, man, can anybody just say, hey, you have the goods, you got the right stuff. I can see you being the best one of those things that's doing it. I see you as best in class for whatever it is you're doing. How often do we hear that? Hardly ever. And I want people that when they experience Tim McMurtry, I want them to be able to say, hey, that guy there, he changed my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think I agree that there's no price tag you can put on that,
No price tag.
Yeah. And imagine a world, so we talk about reinventing the world and all the systems and everything in it, right? So imagine a world next year in 2021 where everybody did look at humanity first, and everybody did, we were just able to change it. And I believe that future is on its way. And I believe that it's people like you, Tim, that are going to get us there.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm flattered. You got me. I'm about to be blushing. Tina, you got me blushing.
No, that's why I had you back a second time. What you do in the world is so important and so needed. And you're so dedicated and so passionate. And every time I see you on LinkedIn with your Timspiration, I'm just like, he's like a class act guy.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a little, if I can just give a little story behind that, even the Timspiration piece. There was a colleague that I worked with, and this I think will underscore this whole notion of, giving an attaboy out of girl. I worked with a colleague some years ago, and when I got on, I was kind of a late bloomer to the whole technology piece, the whole iPhone stuff. I was an old school kind of guy. I had the BlackBerry, the one that had the little side roller thingy, and I was gonna try and hang on to that thing as long as I could until the roller thing, it broke. So I took it to, the Verizon store, and I put it on the counter. The guy was like, "Hi there. He welcome to the store. How can I help you?" I said, "Well, yeah, I put the little phone down," and he gave me a look.
Like, and, 1920 called and they want their phone back.
Exactly. Like, dude, what, sir? What you doing? I said, "Well, the phone, the rotary, the little roller thing on the side is kind of broken." He was like, "Sir, I can't help you with this." I said, "What do you mean? You can't just, fix the roller thing so it can roll smooth?" He was like, "Man, that phone is obsolete. Get another phone." Fast forward. So I was late to the whole Facebook piece, but I just felt compelled to just, put something out there, just some encouraging words, you know what I mean? Keep your head up. Tomorrow is, going to be here sooner than you know. Then your best days are ahead of you, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so like the second day I was posting stuff, I get this, random inbox piece. And it was from this colleague that I hadn't talked to in, 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. She was like, "Oh, Tim, hey, great to see you on Facebook. I remember the times, when we were working at, blah, blah, blah. And you would always come and give me some encouraging words when I was feeling down or had had a rough day or had been called on the carpet at work for something. It's nice for me to know that I can get my Timspiration all the time now." I said, "Girl, I'm wanting Timspiration this morning."
Ding, 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 ding,
ding. Exactly. But it did my heart very, very good, because as I was engaging with her, I wasn't, trying to be a guru or anything like that. This was a colleague. This was another human being who looked like they were going through a challenge. And I'm like, "Well, hey, what happened? Well, so. Well, this is what you might want to do. Play it like this. Do it like this. Da, 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 da. I was just really trying to put some wind behind the sails of an individual. And all these years later, it was that impactful enough that they felt compelled to let me know, "Hey, that stuff you was doing, that really helped me." It's like, okay, cool. I'm walking in what I'm purposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Let me do that and build my life around that as an anchor.
Yeah, because it matters.
It matters.
Totally matters. Every week I get an inbox or an email or something like that, and it's those notes, Tim, that keep me going in this work.
Mm-hmm. Right? I'm sure. Exactly.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So amazing. Okay, so your last thing is, I already asked you about what you wanted to leave. So we're done.
Well,
I don't know that I want to be done. Let's keep talking. I'm just kidding. I want to thank you. Thank you for being on again. I'm sure that I'll have you on again because you're so amazing. And anybody who is out on LinkedIn, go find Tim. He's pretty amazing.
Check me out, folks. Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled to have been a guest today. Thanks so much. And your complimentary words are just really amping me up. It's going to carry me through the whole weekend. I might need to tie something to my body not to float away into the clouds.
That's amazing. Have a good weekend. You're amazing. And we'll talk soon, my friend.
Thanks, my friend. You have a great weekend as well. Thanks again for having me. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. And until next time.
All right, everyone. That wraps us up for Your Leader Legacy on this episode with Mr. Tim McMurtry. Thank you, Tim, for that. Until next time. It's
actually McMurtry.
McMurtry. What am I saying?
McMurtry.
Oh, I'm sorry. McMurtry.
Bam. There it is.
I knew that. I don't know why I was saying something different. All good. I'm being messy today. I'm practicing being messy, and I kind of like being messy. Anyone else probably doesn't like it, but hey, it's all good.
It's all good, my friend. You guys have a great weekend.
Okay, see you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
My name is Tina Paulus-Krause, and I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Check out our programs and events at trueyouteams.com. And until next time, make it an amazing day.